What is up, guys? We are here at the shop as per usual, and today I'm gonna update you guys on the Saab because the Saab has had progress done on it, and I haven't done any updates yet. Supposedly the guys have been cleaning up the shop, making it pretty. It's been cool. I've been here a couple times as they've been working on the Saab, and I figured I'd just update YouTube because I haven't really put a lot on YouTube about this car. My plan today is to update you guys on everything that has happened with it, how close it is to being on the road, which it is very close now, and all the things that need to be done and how we're doing them, because there's some things that we're not doing exactly the way that it was done OEM, but it'll be interesting. So let's go check it out. Let's go see what's up with this weird little Saab. So it's official, 924 is in the shop as well, getting ready to get worked on. Supposedly it came in today, right? Yeah. They just dragged it up here. So it'll be interesting. I'll come back and update you guys on that car, because even though it's not mine anymore, I figured you guys would probably still want to see what happens with this car, whether they just get it running and then flip it, or if they decide to build it or whatever. But today, the focus of our video is on this car, which is actually, like, honestly my favorite car I own. Of course, I just own the Miata as well, but this car is just so good, and I love it. All right, so before we get to the Saab, Kevin is getting ready to get his wide body completely on and completely color matched. Should we tell YouTube what color you're gonna do this?
Not yet.
Not yet? No. Okay, we're not gonna tell you what color, but he's got his quarter panels cut now. So this car, I'll try and do some updates on. If you just tell me when you're working on it, I'll be here with a camera. The FC is coming along nicely, but it's cool. We got good cuts done. You can put some thick, meaty boys in there.
Just got to patch up the fiberglass, little nicks and cracks.
So this is the fiberglass work that was already done, right?
Yeah.
It's actually really smooth. It's looking really good. Once it's all painted one color, it's gonna look amazing.
Then we've got the Rocket Bunny next to the BN kit.
So yeah, Alex is building his 240 in the shop at the same time. So we've got the two wide body cars in one place. This one's going full Rocket Bunny, which the kit, I believe, is in the back hatch, so you can't see it, but they've done their cuts as well. I personally love Rocket Bunny kits on S13 hatches. I think it's the best kit for it. There are a lot of Rocket Bunny kits that I think are kind of a bit played out, but this one just always looks good. I hope that they keep the rear bumper delete, because they've got this bash bar here, right? So I hope that they just keep it like that, because I always think Rocket Bunny S13 hatch with the bumper delete just looks fucking incredible. Hopefully next time I'm up here, it's starting to get put on and such. And then the purple RB is going in this, right? There's a purple RB25 back here, which is
built with HKS internals.
It's so pretty, so smooth and pretty. So that's gonna be dope to see go in there.
She should push around 600 horsepower.
Dude, that's gonna be nuts.
HKS internals, everything's forged with a brand new HKS high flow turbo.
Damn. Oh boy. I love the way this motor looks. It's so pretty. I love the purple. Skyline is now coming together. It went from a completely totaled front end to a put together car. I mean, this car was completely crunched in the front end, and now it's all one piece again. It's got my new sticker there. You guys can pick those up on my website. Always linked down below.
So right now we're just tidying up the last finishing touches. We took off all of the pulleys and we're replacing with lightweight pulleys. We're taking 20 pounds off the rotating force of the front of the engine.
Wow.
So, yeah, every pulley is coming off. He's doing it himself, and he's having a hard time getting that pulley off. Otherwise,
yeah,
this would be done and driving.
Yeah, because last time I saw this car, it wasn't running on all cylinders.
He forgot to put a ground right here.
Oh.
So Kevin came back and found that ground, and I put it on there for him.
Nice. So cool. So this one's nearly completely ready.
We're going to shorten his exhaust and pitch it to an angle tonight.
Okay.
So it'll probably sit about right there with the, and then come out here.
That's dope.
So that'll be a quick.
I actually really like this.
This will be driving out of the shop by the end of the night.
That'll be really cool to see.
We have all the parts.
Are you gonna let me drive it?
So all we have to do is take this line off.
Yeah.
We have a regular banjo fitting line for a normal car. You just put it on there to there. and we've already unplugged this.
And deleted
That's the
it?
cold start, it's completely deleted already. So once we got fuel to fuel, she should crank and start.
These brakes were super warped. They would roll a little bit, but really didn't want to. It was an absolute bitch to push it anywhere when I still had this car. So it's good. There are all new brakes still in the car, I believe. So as soon as those get put in, the car's actually looking great in here. It looks good actually in a shop rather than sitting outside, because it's been sitting outside its entire life. All right, so while Kevin's out of the shop, I'm just gonna give you guys a bit of an update on my plans with this car. My plans with this car right now is just to get it on the road. Literally running and driving, moving it under its own power. From there, once it is a fully functional car, works like a car, which it's very, very close to right now, and we'll get into that in a little bit. If you look at the suspension, you can't really see it in here. It's really, really hard to see. There's a single coil in the center, and then there's a strut that goes like this back here. It's like that all the way around, even on the fronts, which you might be able to see a little bit better. You can see the coil right in here. I'm touching it. It's literally just sandwiched in here. So, if we open this, see if we can get that hood open. Okay, so it's sandwiched in here. It comes to right about here. So we'll have to take all of this out, but I plan to take the spring out, replace it with a bag, and then modify the strut so that it's able to lower and raise. We're going to use a universal bag sleeve kit, and likely weld it to the top here and weld it to the lower control arm, and then run lines literally out of there. Probably cut a hole through this, run it down along here. You can see there's a hole. You can see the ground right there. Run it along the frame rail, right back into the trunk. Now, we can do the same thing up here. So that suspension is essentially right in here underneath this cover. So we'll essentially do the same thing back here. We will put a tank right down in this area and put a cover over it and a small compressor. Do the same thing on the other side. The other side actually has a little bit more access, especially in the front. There's more access. This is where the top of the strut tower is, or the spring, I guess, because the strut is a second piece. So we'll be able to literally run a line up through here, through this, and there's another hole down below here that we've just got this in the way, but we can run a line underneath of it. This is the fuse box. But there is another hole down there. You can kind of see it. Yep. And we'll run it into the trunk and have the full bag set up in the trunk. So eventually, this car will have bags. I don't know how soon that's going to be. I don't know really how we're going to do it yet, but it will be a manual bag setup. We will have 4 individual switches on the dash that will control how tall or lowered the bags are, how much air is going into them. They will be manual switches, and the compressor will have a little meter that essentially tells it how much pressure is actually within the tank, and it'll kick on when there's not enough pressure in the tank to put enough air in the bags. So eventually this car will be bagged. That's not anytime super soon. The reason I'm doing a universal bag kit is, number one, because there are like no aftermarket parts for this car at all. Like the aftermarket world for this entire chassis of car, any Saab 99, is mostly based around rally, and it's mostly for the 99 turbos. This is a 99GL injection. So there really isn't a lot out there for it. So we're gonna have to custom build everything. But eventually this car will be bagged and running and driving. After that, really not a lot of plans for it. The other thing that will be a basic thing that I'll do is have these stock seats reupholstered. So you can see they're all ripped to shreds and terrible looking, especially in the top here. Driver's seat looks about the same. You can kind of see it's all ripped to shreds there. We'll have these reupholstered in blue. We will take out the carpet and shampoo it or replace it depending on what condition we find it's in. It's also blue. The headliner, we're probably going to take this out and replace it with a vinyl graphic, something like that. I might take it to Shazam or something and have them create a graphic for the top. But after that, really not much else with it. The car never came with a radio. I'm gonna want music in this car, so we'll probably have to custom do a radio setup. What I want to do is keep the car retro because it's a classic car, so I kind of want to keep everything analog technology in here. So what I'm thinking, and this is just a thought, is right here, there's nothing. It's just the ashtray. So I'm thinking we take the ashtray out, replace it with a cassette deck, because I love making mixtapes with blank cassettes and such, and then running speakers to each door. And then there's a shelf back here behind the rear seats. And I'm wondering if we cut into here 2 small subs, maybe 2 8s or something, and run an amp right back here in the back of the trunk, because this trunk is massive. It's huge. So even with the bag set up here and an amp back there and 2 subs run up there, it's still gonna have plenty of space for storage and such. We could even block off little areas so that we don't mess with anything electronic back here. But for the most part, we'll be creating a cover. I'm thinking about doing hardwood, but I can't decide yet. It might just be a metal cover that we just literally make, latches that we can pull up, but we could do that with wood as well. So I'm thinking about that. These are all very, very far in the future plans for this car. I don't know that they're going to happen anytime soon. So that's kind of the plan with the Saab. The Saab has had a lot of work done with it, a lot of investigation into what was wrong with it in the first place. Of course, when you guys know that when I got this car, it didn't have a starter and it didn't run, and it didn't have a key, didn't have an ignition. It was just kind of left. It looked like someone had started tearing it apart, trying to figure out why it couldn't start, and then never put anything back in and gave up on the car, and it ended up at a wrecking yard where it was bought by my friend. And then I bought it from him when he had it sitting in his field for a while, and he just didn't want to do any of the work on it. So we got a starter. It turns over just fine. And that's kind of the last time I updated you guys. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to explain all the things that were found with this car, because I wasn't around when things were being done to it. I was at work, but I'm gonna try to explain the point at which we're at. I guess Gabe got the car to fire. He got it to have spark. We got some starting fluid into it. He turned it over, he got it to idle for a little bit. I'll put that video in here. As you could hear from that, it has a super dry head, so it was knocking quite a bit. But we'll do an oil change before we drive it anywhere, of course, as we should with any project car. So it will run, which is something that we thought this car would never do. We were very doubtful about it. We're like, we're gonna see if we can make it work, and it works. So the car has, it has spark, it has compression, it has air. So the fuel system is the only thing that we really need to work on. Kevin and Gabe took out the old fuel pump, and we discovered a few things. So I'll get around to the back of the car here. Right here is where the fuel pump goes. You can see there's another cover here. So this is the fuel pump. This is the float that tells the gas gauge how much fuel is actually in the car. So it's not all one piece like most are. This is the fuel pump. This is the original fuel pump.
We have been soaking it with corrosive for now 2 days, and it still hasn't made its way through.
So that fuel pump is pretty much, apparently, you guys got it to do something, but it's totally clogged.
It'll work, but it will not push through to the other side.
Yeah, so the plan is to have essentially the retrieval system for fuel, so able to get fuel out of the stock tank, which the tank, I guess the plan is to clean it and make it, we'll fill it with vinegar and drain it. It does have a drain on the bottom, so we're hoping that we can just fill it with vinegar, clean it up, make sure there's no rust in it or anything, and then run a line down into it, and the line coming out will run to the motor. And in that line, we will have an inline universal fuel pump that will run, so it won't be an intake fuel pump, it'll just be an external fuel pump, and that will run fuel to the motor. So that's kind of cool. This is the banjo connection right here that runs to the motor itself. These are the leads that run to the fuel pump itself. So I'm guessing we're going to incorporate some kind of wiring for an external fuel pump going directly to the motor of the car. Now, apparently, so the fuel lines are clean, right?
Fuel lines are all cleaned out.
Okay, so all the fuel lines are cleaned out. So it has, you know, a clean delivery system to the motor itself. So putting a new fuel pump in will allow fuel to be fed to the motor. So we're gonna try and make sure that this float still works. We'll probably take it out and make sure it's clean, so that we're not getting rust in the fuel system as well. And make sure this float still works so that we can still have a gas gauge and know how much fuel we actually have. That's literally what the car needs to run, is the fuel delivery system. The fuel injection system, which is mechanical on this motor, works. It's fine. All of these fuel lines are clean now, and it should work just fine. Of course, it's going to need all new coolant, the coolant system, and all of these hoses and stuff reconnected, but that's a thing for another time. After we get this fuel situation figured out, we'll reconnect all the lines, we'll put new coolant in it, do an oil change, make sure all the fluids are new, and it'll be running and driving. After that, to get it really roadworthy, these tires that are on it right now, these are stock Honda Accord wheels, and the tires are way too thick. They hit the suspension in the front when the car turns at all. When they're straight, they don't hit, but when it turns at all, it hits the suspension on the inside. So we're going to take the stock Steelies that this car was originally on, which I still have, and I'm going to have Ray from Northwest Custom Wheel get me some all-weather tires to just chuck on it that won't rub against the suspension. I believe these that are on here are 195s. I think we're going to go to 185 or 165. 60. Hello, Nala. How you doing? So that it won't rub against the tire, and we'll put that on the stock Steelies. And I think Ray and I might color match the Steelies to the color of the car, and then put some kind of chrome circular hubcap on the center of it, just so that it looks nice and put together. So that will be a video for another time. We'll do a whole Saab wheels video, but that will be the last component that this car will really need to get, you know, drivable. Other things that I'll definitely need to do is replace all of the bulbs in the turn signals. The brights do not work, but the running headlights work. So this is headlight bright is on the inside. I'd like to figure out eventually a way that we can have both headlights on at the same time, because I really like the way that looks, and maybe both have a low beam setting and a high beam setting, but that might take some custom work, which I'll see if there's an aftermarket set that can do that, but for now it'll just be running light and bright. And then of course these lights back here, I can't remember which ones work and which ones don't. We did test them at one point. I think it has brake lights but not tail lights. It's going to need reverse lights, new bulbs in the turn signals and these side markers, as well as in the front, same thing. And we're going to have to figure out a custom license plate light, because the stock license plate light was on the bumper, and this car didn't come with bumpers when we got it. So we're going to have to put something in here. We might cut a little piece in here, and you can see the wiring harness for the lights is actually right down in there. You can see it's coated in rubber. This is the latch for the trunk, so you can actually see we can move it there. That's the wiring harness. So we might just splice in a light for the license plate underneath of that. So that's kind of all the things that the car needs. The great thing is, with this stock gas tank still in it, we'll still be able to use the stock gas cap, which is great. I like that everything's color matched in blue. That's my favorite part of this whole car, is just everything is blue, and you know, interior, exterior, down to little things. And that's kind of why I want to color match the stock wheels to it, just to keep this car all original. I like how much of it's original right now, so I want to keep as much as I can original before we do any modifications. Just kind of get it to stock form. So super cool tons of progress being made on this car. Once it is running and drivable, we'll get it all cleaned up. I have a buddy who's a detailer, and we will get the entire car. All this paint, we're going to keep patina. We're going to keep the original paint on it. It's not going to get repainted, but you can see little bits are starting to show through of the primer underneath here and here, and you can see it really well here. I really love the way that looks and the way this is shined up. This was literally just polished, just this little section. And I love the way that looks. So I think we'll do that with the entire car. Keep a lot of the original blue on it. It's a single stage oil-based paint, so it'll kind of show through like that, but we'll do a polish on the entire car, make sure it's looking good. You can see a lot more of the patina look is happening on the hood here. So we'll be doing that with the entire car, making it look kind of rustic looking. I want it to look like a car that was literally driven out of a field. More of kind of this barn find look, which I really like on the car. We're not going for a full restoration. We're going for a functional barn find kind of car, which is exactly why I did the fender mirrors and everything. It's still that modified look. I really like the way the fender mirrors look. We'll get some stainless steel screws to chuck into here so it doesn't rust and so we don't leak water into the doors. It is leaking water on the passenger side, on the front and rear, into the floor, so the seals on the doors themselves will probably have to be replaced, but we can get some literal rubber gasket and just make sure it fits onto that door sill. The funny thing is, this door is misaligned. You can see that. We'll probably have to realign it, but this one doesn't leak at all. These gaskets are perfectly fine, and this door doesn't leak. We're not getting any water into this this floor. It's totally dry. Same thing with this seat, but that side has little pools of water there. We did look underneath the car, which I'll try and show a little bit here. If we can look underneath of here, there's no rust in the frame rails. The frame rails are very straight. It does have this kind of wavy thing going on. It goes up here and down here. No holes in the floor pans. The floor pans look perfectly fine. There's no rust at all. The only other thing is the, let's see if I can get it to brighten up a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see very well, but the exhaust apparently has a few little holes in it that we'll probably just patch up, just welding patches of metal over them, keeping the stock exhaust exactly the way it is. Because this car we're not really planning to make loud, and it is all original and OEM underneath. So that's kind of the stage at where the Saab is at right now, because I figured I'd just update you guys since I haven't really said a lot about this car, and I want to keep the build process on YouTube as much as I can, just so you guys know what's going on. Things will mostly stay original, even though this front grille, which is actually disconnected right now and totally loose, but it will be staying the way it is, even though it's kind of beat up and all of that. I really like that look for this car, and the fact that the Saab logo is still in here. If that wasn't there, I'd probably replace it, but I like the way that it looks. Even all this moss on it and everything. Of course, we'll wash the car once we get it out of here and can actually get it to a car wash. But I really like the way this front looks, the Euro headlights and everything. It just looks cool. We'll probably mount the front license plate, which you can see is sitting there. We'll probably find a way to mount that to the stock bumper bracket, because this car, again, didn't come with bumpers when we dragged it out of a field. So that's probably going to end up being a bracket for a license plate right there. So yeah, that's kind of the full update with the Saab. I absolutely love this car. I drool over it every time I come to the shop, and I can't wait to be driving it places. I'm really hoping that we can get it on the road as soon as possible. So I will keep you guys updated. I will try as hard as I can to bring you guys more Saab content, because this is a really unique car. We'll see if we can get little itty-bitty things to work on it further down the line. Of course, it's going to need a new windshield wiper. It's probably going to need both. This is the only one that's still on here. That one actually was on it when I got the car, but it flew off when we were bumper towing it. So we'll have to replace the windshield wipers. I wonder if we can get this little windshield wiper fluid thing to work. There's only one, and it's in the center of the hood. I'm wondering if we can get that to work for the fluid on this hood, but otherwise, little things will be added here and there throughout the car's life, but right now the focus is on getting it functional, making it work like a car. So that's our little Saab update, so that you guys know what's going on. And yeah, this car is soon to be functional. I'm really excited to see it come together and get out of this shop, have it stop sitting and have it actually work like a car, which is fantastic.